Stafford Motor Speedway is the next stop on the Maritime iRacing League Super Series. It's race number 6 in the series, and still plenty of racing left to be had for some of the Great North's best drivers throughout the Maritimes. Good evening, race fans. Joe Cortez, Evan Pasoko, getting all the action live from Stafford Motor Speedway. 150 laps on this very small, very flat little oval. Evan, we've seen 5 good weeks of racing so far. Number 6 should be no exception to that rule.
And definitely mentioned again here on a Wednesday night with ETV Motorsports Live. Another great track up on the schedule. Obviously, the Stafford Motor Speedway, the half-mile racetrack. We got our stock iRacing, the default weather settings in for tonight. Got a lot of good drivers. We had a great race last week in both the Sportsman and the Super Series. Great race just this past Monday, also in the Sportsman Series, and it should be no exception tonight.
Let's go over points right now so you see where we stand after 4 races here in the Maritime iRacing League. Ronnie McKay, 2 wins already in the season. He is at the top of the points. Mike Alexander immediately behind him with a win under his belt. Keith Mack in 3rd, Kevin Savory 4th, Jake Goodwin 5th, Mike Rhino, Steve Matthews, Carter Wilson, Ricky Arbo, and our very own Tim Terry rounding out the top 10 here in the Super Series tonight. Last week, South Boston Speedway, 250 laps of what can only be described as mayhem on the track. They were able to somehow finish it and get through it in some manner of time. Last week, a lot of storylines to be followed, including Tim Terry's first top 5 of the season. A lot of those, I'm sure, the carnage, the chaos, the bad blood is going to spill over a little bit tonight here at Stafford.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a great night of short track racing. I expect nonetheless than some beating and banging. Mike Alexander, you talked about him currently being 2nd in the championship standings right now with 1 win. That win came last week. Obviously at the South Boston Speedway. He took home the win. Keith Mack with a solid 2nd place finish last week as well. He's sitting 3rd in the championship. Jake Goodwin took home a top 3 as well. You mentioned Tim Terry getting his first top 5. Tim came home with a 4th place finish, and Ronald McKay rounding up the top 5. He is your championship leader right now. So the dominant guys in the standings were dominant last week, and are going to look to do the same tonight.
Mike Alexander, I'm not seeing him on the practice run, so we'll have to see exactly where he's at when we go qualifying in just a few moments. Ricky Arbo, so far the fastest one in practice tonight, turning in times of 19.798. Talking to some of the drivers here before this evening began, they said they're really unfamiliar with the Stafford track. It's not one that they normally run during their regular season. It's only a half mile, very flat. It's very different than anything they see up in the Maritimes. So tonight might be a challenge for each of these drivers out here. Yes, these are some of the best drivers throughout the Maritimes and some of the best drivers in a real car, but tonight might be a challenge for all of their abilities.
And definitely, and then obviously we have our drivers transferring over from the Monday Night Sportsman Series. Brad Eddy taking home the win just on Monday night. Kevin Walker taking home a 2nd place finish. Stefan Arsenal 3rd. Jarrett Butcher 4th. David Cassidy 5th. Chuck Morehouse in the 6th spot. So those are some guys that have now experience on this track racing 2 nights ago, getting the invitation to come up to the big series, the Super Series tonight, and look for those guys also to perform. They have a little bit more laps on than these guys. This race tonight, a lot shorter than what we saw last week. Last week was one of our Triple Crown races, 250 laps. Tonight, only 150, but still a lot of good racing.
Tonight's live coverage of the Maritime iRacing League, Patterson Sales and Service Limited 150 at Stafford is brought to you by Patterson Sales and Service of Monica, Miramachi, and Fredericton. Patterson Sales takes pride in offering a wide range of products to customers. We are a full RV store with a wide range of travel trailers, from lightweights to luxury fifth wheels. Patterson Sales carries a range of tractors for customers with names like McCormick, Landini, TYM, Montana, LS Manufacturing, and a full line of attachments from several manufacturers. Patterson has 3 locations to serve customers and a stock of large inventory. They are also a Polaris and Arctic Cat dealer for Miramachi and a Kawasaki dealer for the greater Moncton area. We service what we sell. Financing available. Patterson's will not be undersold. Patterson Sales and Service, your home for all of your RV needs.
And so, definitely, right now, Tim Terry going over with the drivers. They're going through their pre-race meeting right now. Qualifying starting to wrap up. Looking like the 61 of Ricky Arbo fastest in practice, fastest at the top of the charts right now. That could be a good sign for him coming into tonight's race, sitting 9th in the championship standings. He has some ground to make up too. Still a lot of racing to go, but definitely a strong car right now.
So Ricky Arbeau, Jake Goodwin, who almost had a great win at the first of the Triple Crown events last week. He will start on the outside of row number 1. It looks like Mike Rhino, currently sitting 6th in points. He will start 6th on the field. And Ronnie McKay, your current points leader, will have to start in the middle of the field in position number 7. That's about where he started. He started right in the middle of the field last week, too, when we went racing from South Boston Speedway. So Ronnie McKay, once again, about in the middle of the field, but it wouldn't surprise me if he finds a way to get through this field and start cutting his way to the top sooner rather than later. The one name, though, I'm still missing on our list right here is Mark Alexander, 2nd in points. Not exactly sure where he's at or why he's not here tonight.
Yeah, definitely taking a look, not in the entry list either, so doesn't look like he's going to be making the show tonight, coming into tonight 16 points behind McKay. For that championship lead, definitely not what he was looking for. Obviously, with the iRacing service, sometimes real life can get in the way, but definitely a tough break for Mike Alexander. We know that he has a fast car, so this could give a driver like Keith Mack, a Kevin Savory, a Jake Goodwin, all those guys having fast times right now, could give them a chance to try to work away and chip away at that lead that Ronald McKay has right now at the top of the points.
150 laps about to commence here at Stafford Motor Speedway with the Maritime iRacing League. It is a Batterson Sales and Service 150 here at Stafford. Let's go ahead and take it down trackside for the Canadian National Anthem and our pre-race ceremonies. The Canadian National Anthem to kick off our events here at Stafford Motor Speedway. 150 laps about to commence for the Maritime iRacing League Drivers Meeting coming to a finish. What are we going to see tonight, Evan?
Well, obviously, series admin Tim Terry going over the driver, talking about, just basic conduct, exiting, entering pit road. Only 25 stalls, 23 drivers taking their time in qualifying. So a pretty big field, a half-mile racetrack. You mentioned possibly tempers boiling over, some aggressive racing. It's just going to be another night at the short track.
Another night at the track. Let's go ahead and take you down the qualifying order. On the poles, the 61 of Ricky Arbeau, turning in a time of 19.893 seconds. On the outside of him, the 48 of Jake Goodwin, turning in a time of 19.923 seconds. He'll start second.
About a tenth behind him, the third starting position going to the 72 of Brad Eddy. Fourth starting position, Carter Wilson into 27.
Row number 3 on the inside is Stephen Matthews in the 98 machine. Outside of him, the 34 of Mike Rhino starts sixth.
Inside row 4, the number 7, or rather not 7th starting position, my apologies, the 97 of Ronald McKay and Keith Mack in the 22 starting 8th, both guys up top of the points.
Row number 5 belongs to Todd Cousins on the inside, I should say, the 0-5 machine. On the outside of him, David Cassidy, not that David Cassidy, starts 10th in the 13.
One of our transfer overs from the Monday night series, Stefan Arsenal in the 52 is going to take to the grid 11th position, 12th 38 of Travis Roma.
Martin Landry starts on the inside of row number 7 in the 00 machine. Outside of him, the 18 of Chuck Morehouse, 14th.
E15 is going to go to the number 3 of Jarrett Butcher. Outside him, the number 33 of Doug Hubley rolls off 16th.
Row number 9 is the 55 of Tracy Foster, 17th. Mark Williams at the 24, 18th.
Number 86 of Jeff Gilmott going to take to the grid position 19. Position 22, his outside, the number 6 of Nathan Doherty.
Vic Greenwood in the 11 starts 21st. Patrick Healy in the 5 starts 22nd.
Last driver to take a qualifying time, 23rd spot, the 88 of Kevin Savory, starting 24th and rounding out the field, the 75 of Tim Terry.
Drivers now rolling off the starting grid. It should only be one parade lap around this very short Stafford Motor Speedway before we go green flag racing. 150 laps. Not a whole lot of distance, but just enough distance for tempers to fly, for tires to go flying, for sheet metal to be bent. What a race we are about to be treated to tonight. It'll be a 2-lap parade as the pace car comes around one more time. Evan, you got a pick for tonight's race?
I think you got to take a look at that car sitting on the pole right now, the 61, Ricky Yarbeau, fastest in practice. Remember, these guys were in practice. It was open for 2 hours, so for him to be able to maintain that time and back it up with his qualifying run, I think that 61 is strong. If he stays up front and out of trouble, he should be able to get the victory lane.
My odds on 97 of Ronnie McKay. He's already your points leader. He's won half the races we've run in the Maritime iRacing League Super Series. If he can get up front, he is going to be a threat to take this race. Pace car makes its way down the access road to pit road. Now it's in the hands of Ricky Yarbeau and Jake Goodwin. 150 laps in the Patterson Sales and Service Limited 150. Green flag flies. We are racing 150 laps, 75 miles around this short Stafford Motor Speedway. Battle already for second as Jake Goodwin fighting off the 72 of Brad Eddy on the inside.
Big red caution flag is going to fly here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. Trouble early on, the 22 car of Keith Mack getting turned into the outside wall on the start. Entering tonight, third in the championship standings, has early trouble after making contact with the 05 of Todd Cousins. Several other cars plowed into it at the back of the field, and that is going to put us under our first caution of the night. Tough break for the 22 team. Not what they wanted to look for early.
Not the way they want to look for early. You saw the replay just a moment ago. The 22 tried to get to the turn a little bit too aggressive. Got into the 05. Spotter may not have told him that the 05 was there, leaving Keith Mack to think that he had the room. He goes nose first into the safer barrier, and then he gets plowed by I can't see that one. That's the number 18, I believe, of Chuck Morehouse. Yep, the 18 of Chuck Morehouse just plows straight into the 22 of Keith Mack. Heavy smoke coming out of the 18 machine. His night might be done. He's down on pit road trying to figure out what he can do to salvage that machine. Now David Cassidy on pit road as well. Looks like he may have got a little piece of damage as well on the rear left side of that 13 machine. Yellow flag out for the first time tonight. Chuck Morehouse is officially done. He's pulling it behind the garage, and he is done for the evening. So that's definitely not the way you want to start race number 5 in this short Maritime iRacing League.
And definitely, and I mentioned tough break. Remember, we were looking Mike Alexander not getting into tonight's race. Alexander sitting second in the championship standings, just about 26 points behind right now championship leader Ronald McKay. Keith Mack came into tonight third, only 2 points behind Alexander, so with a solid finish, he would be able to make up substantial ground, and if McKay had some troubles, would possibly be able to get up closer to that front and chip away at that points lead. Very, very tough break for him and his team very early on in the going. That car currently not on the racetrack behind the wall, trying to get any repairs that they can done to that car, but not looking good for Keith Mack and his team early on at the Stafford Motor Speedway.
Keith Mack, Chuck Morehouse, both off track. They are done for the night. David Cassidy looks like he's going to go at least one lap down as he tries to get his repairs done and back on track. Pace car lights are off. They are doubling it up. Let's restart this race. Let's give it one more try here. It will be effectively your same starting order. Ricky Yarbeau, Jake Goodwin on the front, Brad Eddy, Carter Wilson, row number 2 behind them. Stephen Matthews and Ronnie McKay picks up up to position number 6. Pace car down and away. The 61 takes off again. We are green flag flying for the second time here at Stafford Motor Speedway. Our bow out front, and now once again it's a battle between the 48 and the 72. The 72 of Brad Eddy using the apron to his advantage. He's got the run, but can he hold on around the 48 of Jake Goodwin?
He's got the position into 3 and 4, a little bit of an advantage, half a car length to the 72, a little bit of a wiggle this time by. He's going to have the advantage by the start-finish line. Jake Goodwin trying to hang in on the top, can't get it done. And now here comes the 98 of Stephen Matthews. Matthews to the apron, going to get around the 48 of Goodwin as well. Not quite clearing him now into turn number 3. Should get that cleared. The 48 Goodwin trying to get it 9, nearly cutting off the 34 of Mike Rhino. And now we're side by side behind them for the 6th spot between 27 of Wilson and the 97 of McKay. As McKay, your point leader, tries to work forward.
Single file in front of him. Ronnie McKay still finds a way to get around the 27 machine. He now officially scored position number 6, Carter Wilson in 7th, and behind him the 52 of Stefan Arsenault. One of your transfer, I believe the only transfer tonight in here. Stefan Arsenault moves to position number 8. It's a conga line for the first top 8 positions out there. And Ricky Arbeau, no one around him. He is going to take off once again. Now we saw him take off like this at South Boston. Yellow flag slowed him down, ultimately cost him the race. Ricky Arbeau, I think, is looking for a little bit of redemption tonight as he leads lap number 9.
One car not getting off to the start they want. That's the 05 of Todd Collins, last time by the stripe, 11th position, getting passed by the 00 of Martin Landry and Travis Roma as well. And now the 3 car is going to get close into the left rear. Jarrett Butcher making contact with Todd Cousins out of the turn number 2. 3 car now with the advantage through 3 and 4 is going to pick up that spot, but a close call, and the 05 continues to drop back now into the 12th spot. So having trouble these last 2 laps, Collins dropping to 12th after starting this race in the top 10.
The 05 was involved in that first incident, so he might be driving just a little bit more conservative than he would have if he'd not been involved in that incident to begin with. But Todd Cousins now trying to figure out what he has to do to salvage his run. He wants better than a top 15. He wants a top 10 in a big way. Single file now all the way through position number 20. Problems on track.
The 48 of Jake Goodwin is around, and the caution flag back out at the Stafford Motor Speedway after getting turned, you could say, after contact with the 34 of Mike Rhino. If we get the replay up, it was lap 12. I do believe coming out of corner number 2 as they were working through 1 and 2. The 34 of Rhino tried to assert that position on the inside lane. Looked like he might have had it, the 48. Maybe his spotter not picking up on it just as quickly, but came down and made the slightest contact. 34 of Rhino hard on the brakes as the 48 went around, and then actually turned the 34 around as well as the 97 behind him of Ronald McKay could not get on the brakes hard enough. So both those drivers, the 48 and the 34, around into the grass.
The 34 looked like he tried to force the issue out there, and also making contact with the 34 of Rhino was the 97 machine of Ronnie McKay. So you've got to believe he's got to have a little bit of front end damage on that number 97 machine. In fact, Laura, if we can get a picture on the front end, you do see he's got just a touch of damage on that front end of the 97 machine. That damage right there could mean trouble for him later on in this race.
Yeah, definitely. Incidents like that, it's so hard to tell, if that messed something up in the front of the race car. Possibly it could cause any handling issues. Nobody knows. It could cause some overheating issues in that race car. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Sometimes we'll see a driver back it into the wall, but because it's the rear end of the car, they might be fine. Sometimes we'll see an incident where there's not a lot of sheet metal damage, but something on the inside of that race car, something with the steering, will really get knocked out of whack. So it's hard to tell, but definitely not what that 97 wanted. Obviously coming into tonight's at the top of the point standings with about a 25-point gap or so over second place, and already now the driver that would assume second place entering tonight in third place having trouble early, being the 22 of Keith Mack. So the 97 going to try to keep that nose as clean as possible throughout the remainder of the night and try to expand on that points lead.
More importantly, though, 3 of your top 5 have now been involved in some form of incident, and we're only scoring lap number 16 out there on the field. Ronnie McKay with nose damage, Jake Goodwin, Mike Rhino, you just saw them get into it just a moment ago, and then Keith Mack, who was involved in that first incident, forced to call it a night early. 3 of your top 6 all involved in some way, shape, or form of incident tonight. That could potentially shake up the entire point system out here tonight and will offer an opportunity to the guys lower in the top 10 or looking for a position in the top 10 to pick it up. Guys like Ricky Arbeau, who's currently scored on the pole right now. He's continuing to lead. He's led all 17 laps here at Stafford. He wants to lead every single one if he can. The 98 will now inherit second place. That's Stephen Matthews. Brad Eddy, Ronnie McKay, now third and fourth. Carter Wilson and Stefan Arsenault. They are now inherit row number 3 as they double up. They're going to go green flag racing next time by.
22 Keith Mack has finally called it quits after that incident. They took it to the parking lot, decided they can't get it fixed, so his night officially done. The Ford First Racing Mustang pace car down pit road, field in the hands of the 61 of Arbro at the front of the field, 72 on his tail, but the green flag flies. He is on the gas on the front straightaway to take lap number 18. Now the battle's on for second side by side as the 72 of Eddie throws it into the corner trying to get around the 98.
The 72 and 98 still battling back and forth. Brad Eddy has the advantage. 98 makes contact with the outside wall. The 72 now dirt tracking it a little bit, getting sideways through turns 3 and 4. He will force the issue. He will get the position. The 98 now looking for the crossover. Steve Matthews not able to do it. Why? Because the 97 of Ronnie McKay has got his nose down there as well. Look who wants to come along for the ride. That's up 27 of Carter Wilson. He wants to get dirty as well. The 97-98 side by side now through turns 3 and 4. The 97 has the advantage, but with that nose damage on the front, can he get the speed?
Definitely has the advantage into turn number 1. The 98 on the top side. Can the 27 of Wilson get to the 98's inside? He can't do it. 98 of Matthews up the hill in 1, comes down and back in line, but will evidently lose that position to drop back into the 4th spot. The field starting to try to sort themselves out after we took to the green flag. Single file to about position, I want to say 19 is the 00 of Martin Landry, who's just got overtaken by the 6th of Nathan Doherty. Landry actually now in 18th when everything updates. The 48 of Jake Goodwin, just involved in that previous incident. One of our front runners. We know he has a fast car. He's right behind these guys battling at it, trying to work his way back up to the front.
A lot of great talent here in the back of the field behind that 48, including the 13 of David Cassidy, currently running 22nd, and the number 5 of Patrick Healy, currently running 20th. Both these drivers, regular talents here in the Maritime iRacing League Super Series. You see them running very slowly and cautiously. Still a lot of laps left to go. 22 of 150 being scored already. Nathan Doherty, despite the back-end damage on the 6 machine, not sure where he picked that up at, but the number 6, despite that front and back-end damage, is still starting to cut through this field. He's now in 19th. And then there's Jake Goodwin in the 48, trying to find a way back up front to try to get through this field. Now the 55 of Tracy Foster, 4-12, looking to get around Doug Hubhley, the 33.
And definitely the 48 of Goodwin continuing to make aggressive moves back there in 18th spot, just picking up 17th as he gets around the 00 of Martin Landry. The 48, obviously with the fast car, running up at the front of the field until he was involved in that incident. Qualified second, had the 3rd fastest car in practice. Right now, he's really using that apron a lot more than those drivers that we're seeing at the front of the field do it, because there's a sense of urgency. Yes, we still have about 125 laps to go, but Goodwin knows that if there's several cautions, it's only going to dampen his ability, and he knows he has a fast car, and as they start to stack up in front of him in single file out, the 48 makes an aggressive move to the inside of the 11. The 55 is in the wall, continuing to try to move up to the field as they check up.
You're on board with the 48 of Goodwin as you see that checkup shake everything up in front of him. Goodwin now trying to figure out how he's going to get around the 24 of Mark Williams. Mark Williams going to try to keep his nose down and force the issue out there on the track. More checkups around the 55 machine. Let's keep up with the 33, the 24, and the 48 as they battle side by side. The 33 of Doug Hubhley going backwards now to Mark Williams and the 48 of Jake Goodwin. Jake Goodwin follows the 24 through, but will he let the 24 hold on to that position for much longer?
You can see the sense of urgency. He's got those left side tires down there on the apron, not quite the corner exit that he wanted, makes slight contact with that outside wall, this time into 1. You see the 48 really drive it into the corner more than anybody else, trying to get what he can on that 24 of Mark Williams. That's the battle for 13th. One car slow up on the top of the racetrack. That's the 38 car, Travis Roma, very slow. This is going to cause a big congestion in 3 and 4. Making it 3 wide, almost getting spun. Tim Terry into the 6 car, lots of contact after the 38 of Roma drops from 8th to 15th after making contact in 1 and 2.
They made contact, forcing Travis Roma to get way up high into the wall, and that is not where Travis Roma wanted to be. He will drop a lot of positions out there. Travis Roma, he's looking for a good finish out there tonight, but that may not happen after that big misstep on his part or on the part of the number 3. It's hard to tell. Meanwhile, the big winner out of that was the number 3 of Jared Butcher. He stays now in 7th place, and he's got nobody around him to challenge for position. But don't look now. Kevin Savory in the 88, Jeff Gilman in the 86, and Mike Rhino back in the top 10.
And definitely try to work their way back up. Rhino in the 34. Really not a lot of damage. The damage that he has is on that back bumper after getting spun, trying to avoid a spinning 48 of Goodwin in front of him. I think him and Goodwin only having rear end damage should be good for the rest of the race. Goodwin continuing to apply the pressure on the back bumper of that 24 of Williams. Really throws it into turn 1 on the apron sideways. He's going to make it stick. And the 48 of Goodwin going to get around the 24 of Mark Williams as Williams cuts him a break and lets him by, knowing that 48 car is faster. So Jake Goodwin now back up to P11 after some really aggressive driving in these last few laps. Well, you mentioned we saw that big checkup involving the 38 of Roma. Everybody checked up the 48, used that to his advantage, and picked up 2-3 spots in those last few laps, and now sees himself on the outside of the top 10 looking in.
Meanwhile, up in second is your points leader, Ronnie McKay. A quiet run through the top 4. Now he is on the heels of the 61 of Ricky Arbo. Let's see if we can go on board right now with the 97 of Ronnie McKay. And as you ride on board with him, you'll notice that he does have a little bit of damage on that front end that, however, not affecting him. You cannot see it here from his cockpit, and it's not but it may be affecting his handling as you see him kind of dirt tracking a little bit, sliding through using that apron for the advantage. Ronnie McKay on the heels of the 61. He wants to make the pass. He's starting to force the issue. The 61 just won't let him have it.
Ronald McKay looking at that race car in front of him of Ricky Arbo, reading on the back bumper, 2013 MIRL champion from the Spring Series here, and 97 being your points leader right now is just that much more determined to get around him. Couldn't get it done there in 1 and 2, made an aggressive move. Going to throw it into 3 again, get to within a couple inches, try to make it stick corner off. He does it well, but a quarter of a car length to half a car length this time by the start-finish line. Arbo's advantage cut to 0.19 seconds, under 2/10, but the 97 of Ronald McKay, not with the most stable of race cars, but definitely driving it hard, trying to make up ground on the 61 as he loses a little bit of time, that time off 2. This time into 3, they're going to have to negotiate some lap traffic.
Lap traffic now becoming a factor out here, and last time we saw lap traffic become a factor, we saw some incidents out on track. So this could start making for some problems. 97 starts to go sideways, has to use the apron to rescue it. The 97 of Ronnie McKay stays in second. Brad Eddy might have given him a little hand out there, so now the 72 is coming, and he's coming in a big way. You saw the 72 there through 3 and 4, through a little bit of dirt track and get a little sideways out there, but he's going to continue to run, and he's going to run hard on the track. In front of him, behind him, is the 98 of Stephen Matthews, currently running 4th, and I guarantee you both the 72 and 98 are keeping a keen eye on this battle between the 61 and 97. If lap traffic becomes a problem for both those drivers, those two could inherit the lead and ultimately the win.
And definitely that contact earlier between the 72 of Brad Eddy getting into the back bumper to the 97 of Ronald McKay. Unintentional contact. 72 came over the radio, apologized for that, and that's why we saw that 97 of Ronald McKay get sideways, but was able to hang on to it. How about we take a look at the car in the 6th position? The number 52 of Stefan Arsenal is the top placing driver right now in the field that transferred over from the Monday night race. A great run by him so far in tonight's race. Finished 3rd on Monday night in the Sportsman Series here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. So got in that invitation to the Super Series here on the Wednesday night broadcast live on ETV Motorsports Live. Doing a solid effort in his number 52 machine. Meanwhile, all this has been going on. The 48 of Jay Goodwin from P11 to P9, and now on the back bumper of the 34 of Mike Rhino. Remember, these guys got into each other a little bit earlier, sent them both around, and now they're going to be running side by side not too long here on the racetrack.
And they have lap traffic in front of them in the form of the 38 of Travis Roma, who got dumped by the 3 earlier. The 58 might be purposefully holding the 3 back, as you now see the 34 and 48 get around the 38 and the 3. The 38 purposefully holding the 3 back out there. So a little bit of retribution, a little bit of quiet retribution there on the part of Travis Roma. Now the 3, he is mad.
Contact between 48 Goodwin and Mike Rhino. Goodwin making an aggressive move into 1 to try to get that spot. Rhino getting loose, and that's going to put Jake Goodwin into P7. And the 3 of Jarrett Butcher now up to that 9th spot, moving, or rather to the 8th spot, moving Mike Rhino back to 9th. Rhino really getting the short end of the straw on that whole ordeal. You mentioned we possibly saw the 38 of Roma holding up the 3 of Butcher a little bit, which caught Butcher on the top side. And again, another aggressive move by Jake Goodwin, nearly spinning Rhino into 1, making slight contact with that left rear, but it's paying off for Goodwin, obviously going from the front of the field all the way to the back of the lead lap, already back up into the top 7. However, he is 8 seconds behind race leader Ricky Arbeau and has about 4 seconds on the racetrack until the next car that he's battling for position.
And give a shout to the 24 of Mark Williams. He started outside the top 10 when we came back from that last yellow flag. Look where he's at now. He's now in the 10th position. He just followed the 34 and the 48 through the field. So now Mark Williams scoring in the top 10, maybe the top 9. If he can get around the 34 of Mike Rhino, they are side by side at the stripe. On paper, it's Mark Williams with the advantage. And this time through turns 1 and 2, he will get it. Mark Williams up to position number 9. Jarrett Butcher still in position number 8. And then there's Jake Goodwin, who is digging hard out there to try to get his position back.
Got to take a look at the intervals on the racetrack right now. Race leader to the 61, Ricky Arbeau, has been maintaining a consistent about 0.2 of a second lead over the 97 of McKay, who just threw it in there in turn 3. Not getting the speed off 4, but he made up a lot of time, reducing that gap to about 0.21 seconds over the 61. Looking on the inside, so the possible battle shaping up here for the lead. 97 sideways, along with the 61 off 2. You just see how hard that 97's throwing it into the corner. It's making him sideways, but the anticipation and the battle is picking up here at the front of the field.
Anticipation is picking up. Business is picking up as the 97 gets tapped by the 72. The 98 now getting involved there. 3 wide almost. 97 get a tap from the 98 of Stephen Matthews. They are side by side. 97 low, 72 high, and the 98 behind them. Waiting to see what's going to happen. The big winner in all this, Ricky Arbeau, the 61. He gets a little bit of distance between him and Ronnie McKay, about 0.8 of a second worth, which on a short track is a lifetime. They've sorted it out. Ronnie McKay back in second, Brad Eddy third, Stephen Matthews now in fourth. These guys continue to crank it up. Let's go ahead and take our first commercial break of the evening. You are watching ETV Motorsports live coverage of the Patterson Sales and Service Limited 150 from Stafford Motor Speedway.
It's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR race. Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Home of the ETVLive Radio, the HD Radio Network gives you a variety of stations to choose from, including Big 80s Metal, all HDR Classics, all HDR Country, and more. Take your pick and rock your brains out. HD Radio Network stations are featured in iTunes Radio, TuneIn Radio, and also listed in the Windows Media Guide. Tune in today from HDRadioNetwork.com or take it with you. Get the mobile app at TuneIn.com. Back up front here at Stafford Motor Speedway, it is the Patterson Sales and Service Limited 150, part of the Maritime iRacing League, race number 5 in the season, and it's still the Ricky Arbeau show up front. Ronnie McKay, though, forcing the issue. He gets into the 61 and 97, go around. 98 gets a piece of that as well. Yellow flag is out.
And we saw that coming for the last few laps. We saw the 97 of Ronald McKay. He is coming into tonight again as the championship leader. Very aggressive move and just overdrove the corner. Didn't have any chance of making it, sending the car into that outside wall, being the number 61. Very, very strange incident in turn 3. Pretty significant damage on both of those race cars. The 97 getting hit also by the 98 of Stephen Matthews. They plugged the racetrack, and then the 97 car made more contact with the 98 of Matthews coming at a 4 after the caution flag had already been thrown. So interesting turn of events here on at the Stafford Motor Speedway as both those guys now come down pit lane.
Lots of activity now down on pit road. The 48, the 61, the 72, the 27, the 34, the 97, all to the attention of their crews after that incident. That leaves only a handful of cars still left on the track right now, as these are the only ones that aren't getting service right now. Now the second group coming down to the attention of their crews to get service. That includes the number 98 of Stephen Matthews, the 6 machine. That belongs to Nathan Doherty. The 52 machine comes down to pit road as well. The 55 of Tracy Foster to the attention of his pit crew as well. So everybody using this opportunity to get service, to get tires, to get fuel, and make a couple of adjustments on these cars to make sure they can survive the next half of the race.
And definitely this is going to put us under our second or third caution of the night at the Stafford Motor Speedway. Pretty much everybody coming down pit road to service their race cars, whether it's just to get some new tires on it or to get that sheet metal fixed. But very, very big incident. You got to keep in mind the championship picture. Ronald McKay is the points leader coming into tonight. Second place car not making the field. Third place car out of the race in the opening laps. Really having an attempt to really gain a lot of points tonight. Not what he wanted to see. He'll still be able to get back out there on the racetrack, I do believe, and log some laps, but definitely his car not going to be competitive as it was, and that's what happens when you get over aggressive at these short tracks. A race out of 150 laps, just passing a third of the way through. Patience is everything, and unfortunately just ran out of it going into 3 and ended up causing a caution.
And as a result of those pit stops, Jake Goodwin is now your leader. Brad Eddy will be in second. Ronnie McKay third. Mark Williams now found his way up to fourth after a quiet run. And Carter Wilson remains in the top 5. Mike Rhino, Jared Butcher, Stefan Arsenault. Arsenault now moves up into the top 5. Carter Wilson will be 6th. Kevin Savory, Mike Rhino, our very own Tim Terry, and Stephen Matthews rounding out the top 10. The 48 back in control of the field. This will be, I believe, officially your first lead change of the night as we go back to green flag racing in one more lap. We have some more lap traffic trying to get out of the way. That's a 5 of Patrick Healy. He's trying to get out of the way of these guys as we get ready to go back green flag racing. So Stafford Motor Speedway has certainly not disappointed us. We've seen a lot of hard driving, a lot of banging and beating, and we've only gotten through the first half of this race.
Yeah, definitely. You asked me for my pick at the beginning of the race. I told you the 61 of Arbeau, if he can stay up and stay out of trouble. Unfortunately, trouble found him 4 laps down. Also, you were picking a championship leader coming into tonight. Trouble pretty much for all of our top runners, so we could really see a shift in the points out of tonight. Over the field, doubled up lights are off on the Ford First Racing pace car. Entering 3, it's down on the service road, and we're looking for the green.
The Ford First Racing pace car does not want any damage on it as he gets the heck out of the way. We're back to green flag racing. Jake Goodwin, he will take the lead in convincing fashion Brad Eddy follows right behind him. Now Brad Eddy starts to drive it down. He wants a piece. Ronnie McKay not able to get down. He's going to stay in third. Mark Williams fourth. And now there's a battle for fifth as Stefan Arsenault immediately under assault from the 88 of Kevin Savory. And look who's up there as well, the 75 of Tim Terry. Despite the rear-end damage on his car, he's going to continue to run hard.
And definitely everybody this time single filing out a little bit more quickly than we've seen in the past. Remember, one car, near contact for 13th spot, the 5 of Patrick Healy, into the outside wall, that time off turn number 2, almost collecting the 11 of Vic Greenwood. Those two cars nearly got into each other going into the 1, so the 5 of Healy going to drop from 13th position, possibly back all the way into the 15th spot. It's going to be an update this time by the stripe. He will drop back into that 15th position indeed, but some damage now on the right side of that 5 car, not what he was looking for, now the last car on the lead lap.
And then there's the 75 of Tim Terry, currently running in 7th despite the damage. He's found a way to make this track work. When we talked to him earlier in the race before the race started, he said he really hadn't had a chance to run this track before. He's never really turned a whole lot of laps on this track, but for not turning a whole lot of laps, he's certainly figured out how to get that 75 working. He's now in 7th, and he's digging a little bit. He wants to get around the 88 and the 52. Now Stefan Arsenault under assault from Kevin Savory in the 88, and the 52 holds on for right now, but the 88 of Kevin Savory, now he's going to get around. He's going to make the move. 2, 3, and 4. It should be official. Kevin Savory up to P5 in the 88.
Tim Terry's going to throw it in there, try to assert that position on the inside of the 52. Does a great job of it, so Terry side by side with the 52 car of Arsenault. This time Terry with contact sideways on the apron into 1. He's going to hang on to it, sliding back up the racetrack. Now here comes the 98 of Matthews to his inside, but a great piece of driving by the 75 of Terry to keep that thing out of the wall.
But his good driving might not be done yet. He's going to have to get it sideways again and get moving on that machine. He loses the position he just picked up to Stephen Matthews in the 98 machine. He'll be back. Stephen Matthews now in position number 6. Tim Terry has to do what he can to figure out how he's going to get back to position number 7 on the field. The 05 of Todd Cousins, who was involved in that first incident tonight, he's still in the top 10. Look at him in position number 9 right there. And now towards the back of the field, it's a 27 of Carter Wilson. Have to dot with lap traffic. That's Jeff Gimmett in the 86 machine. The 34 of Mike Rhino getting around him as well. Rhino involved in a couple incidents tonight. He wants to get back around the 27 and get back in the top 10.
Take a look back up front. P1, the 48 of Jake Goodwin. Running up front at the beginning of the race. Got sent around off turn number 2 after contact with another driver in the racetrack, the 34 of Rhino. The 48 car now back up into that top position right now. Second place is the 72 of Brad Eddy, about 3-4 car lengths off of him, this time into turn number 1. But a great recovery, and the aggressive driving by the 48 has paid off, and that's putting him back up at the top of that leaderboard.
More than half over now as Jake Goodwin gets up front. He is in position number 1. Brad Eddy immediately behind him, though. But Brad Eddy is not forcing the issue right now. 48 makes contact with the wall. That might make the 72 force the issue. Yes, he does. Brad Eddy in the 72 gets around the 48. But here comes the 48. He wants a crossover. Goodwin, knowing he made a mistake, wants to get his position back. The 72 says, so long, you lost it. It's now mine. Brad Eddy will be the 3rd lead change tonight. He will now score in position number 1. Jake Goodwin immediately on his tail, and then there's Ronnie McKay, who was involved in that second incident. He's looking to get back up front. He's looking to, if he can't win, at least defend his points lead so far.
And definitely taking a look on board there at the split screen with the 48 of Jake Goodwin now running P2. Doesn't look like to me he has the race car to get back to the lead right now. Possibly getting some damage when he made contact with that outside wall. He's hanging tough with the 72 of Eddy. Maybe they're even, but it's going to take a lot more to get around Brad Eddy, because Brad Eddy now obviously getting up to the P1 position for the first time tonight after starting 3rd and qualifying in that spot. It's definitely going to try to hang tough there. And how about the 97 again? Ronald McKay, good job by him coming into the night, the points leader. Both 2nd and 3rd in the points having trouble. One of the drivers not even making it to the grid. That was Mike Alexander, not at the racetrack tonight. And then Keith Mack getting into the wall hard to start things off on the night. Should definitely be able to pick up a lot of points as that 97 rides around P3.
The 98 of Stephen Matthews, he will pick up position on the 88 of Kevin Savory. So Mark Stephen Matthews now in the top 5 tonight. Kevin Savory understands the gravity of his situation. He needs to get a top 5 as well. He is currently sitting 4th in points, just outside the podium positions. 4 points right now. And with Keith Mack and Mike Alexander both off the track, he could very easily find himself in the second place position, but he has to have a good finish in order to do that. So Savory not going to be satisfied for much longer, being in position number 6. Stephen Matthews, however, he's 7th. He understands the gravity of his situation as well. He needs to get this top 5 position to move up in points. He is a handful of points behind, about 60-some away from first place. So Stephen Matthews also digging as hard as he can in the 98 machine to try to make some moves in the points series tonight.
Yeah, definitely Savory. You mentioned entering tonight 4th in the points. When points leader is running in front of him, it means he's only going to lose points. He might be able to make it up to P3 or P2, depending on where this all sorts out. But you have to give credit to him and his 88 team, also again running P6 right now, about 4 seconds off of race leader Brad Eddy. He qualified 23rd for this race, the last driver to take time, starting way back there, and his number 88 looks pretty clean for the content that we've seen so far this evening at the Stafford Motor Speedway. So good job by his team getting it up to P6. The question will be, can he get a caution? Most likely that he needs to be able to get up there and challenge for the W here tonight.
Mike Rhino still holding strong to position number 10, getting around the 00 lap machine of Martin Landry. Martin Landry's currently scored in 16th, 1 lap down. Mike Rhino, after incidents, his front end looking a little raggedy out there, but he continues to make it work. 34 making hard contact with the wall just before he crosses the start-finish line. He knows that if he can hold on, he might be able to have a top 10 finish out there. The only question is, can that 34 machine hold on to all the abuse it's been given tonight?
Clean car behind him, definitely the 05 of Todd Cousins, and then you got to take a look at the 00 Martin Landry in between those two. 00 being a lap car right now, but you take a look back, and still several drivers behind him that are a lot cleaner of a race car than him, so you have to keep that in mind. Meanwhile, the battle is picking up for P3 right now. 97 of Ronald McKay holding that spot, but look behind him, the 24 of Mark Williams is under attack, and the pressure is being applied by the 98 of Stephen Matthews right now in P5. 98 is going to get looked to the top off 224, nearly shuts the door on that. 98 going to go to the top lane, but that's not the preferred lane to make a pass. He's going to drop back now, continues to stay on that high side though. Off 4, he's going to get a great run, and he might clear him into when he does.
Great move by Stephen Matthews, using the high side to his advantage. Just muscles his way up to position number 4. And now he's looking at Ronnie McKay, the 98, arguably a cleaner machine than 97. After that incident involving the 98 and 97, we saw those two cars just get into each other. The 98 making a little retaliation contact with that 97 machine. And you saw that there's a little bit of bad blood between these two. So it wouldn't surprise me that 98 and 97 have a little bit of difference on a difference of opinion when they get close to each other on who should be in position number 3.
That's one way of putting it. It's just a matter of time. If that 98 can catch the 97 of McKay last time by the start-finish line, McKay ran a lap of a 20.552, Matthews a 20.576. So a 98 car not necessarily running laps faster than the 97 of McKay. You can call it a race car. It's pretty much even right now at this point in the race, but I don't think that 98 is going to be able to make up those about 0.6 of a second that he's back really quickly here, but it's definitely possible because he's that much more determined. When you have a little bit of bad blow with the driver, you see him in front of you, it's just going to furthermore determine you to get up to his back bumper and get around him and get into the top 3.
And now you see them get around the 61 of Ricky Arbeau, currently being scored six laps down. Arbeau not letting the 97 or 98 get around him. I think he's going to get a little bit of an attitude as well, as he's trying to hold up these two drivers as best he can. You see him once again closing the door on the 97 machine. Arbeau almost gets booted by the 97. The 97 thinks better of it. The 98 almost making contact as well. The 61 of Arbeau not happy with the drivers behind him.
The 97 car of Ronald McKay in thirds, letting him know that's his only warning. If he doesn't let him go, he's not going to finish the race. 97 throws it in aggressively, getting that position. The 61's going to go and give him a shot. So the lap car, the 61, tries to take him out. Ricky Arbeau in the fence off of turn number 4 after trying to retaliate with points leader, the 97 of McKay, and all of that, the 98 of Stephen Matthews is going to move up to P3.
The 97 and 98 exchanging a couple jabs out there. The 98 and 97 now battling for position out there. Stephen Matthews gets the jump on Ronnie McKay, so the 98 will be in position number 3. Ronnie McKay drops to position number 4, and then there's Mark Williams in the 24. He's had a quiet run all night. Now he's looking for position himself. He wants to break into the top 4 for the first time this evening. All the only thing standing between him and the top 4 is the 97 of Ronnie McKay. And then there's Ricky Arbeau in the 61. He still looks like he's hunting out there. He still looks like he wants a piece of that 97 machine. He is driving as hard as he can to stay up with him. I think he's not done making his statement tonight.
And no, definitely did his best to hold him off. We heard the 97 of Ronald McKay come over the radio and pretty much gave him a warning, saying if you keep acting like an idiot, you're going to be in the outside wall. 97 got around. Then we saw the 61 get into his back bumper, and it appeared that he tried to cut right off forward, maybe take that car out. Obviously, those two getting in an incident earlier tonight. You guys took a look at the replay there. That's definitely what it looked like. And the 61 car, I'm sure, is not done making his point, as it looks like if those two did end up tangling with each other earlier in the race, that the 61 of Arbeau definitely feels like he got the short end of the straw, as he is sitting 6 laps down, and McKay's sitting P4 right now.
The 61, if those two cars get together one more time tonight, it wouldn't surprise me to see them get back and forth one more time, which all it would take is a yellow flag to shift up this field and potentially see that happen one more time. Back up front, Brad Eddy now starting to contend with a little bit of lap traffic. The 6 of Nathan Doherty, the first one in his sights. With my big question here, will that affect him, and will that open the door for Jake Goodwin to potentially make some moves?
Definitely got to look at the 48. Remember, we saw him get into the wall after working so hard to get up the P1, got in the wall, allowing that 72 rather of Brad Eddy to get around him for position number 1. Since that, Goodwin has only lost about 1/10 of a second, so both cars very considered. 33 car is going to put a bump and run on the 3 now side by side. That is the 3 car of Jarrett Butcher sitting right now in the lead lap in the 12th spot. The 33 of Doug Hubley, a lap car, going at it side by side this time off of turn number 4. The advantage is going to go to the 3 on the top. The 33 is going to make it stick. The 30 is getting out of the way, so they're even going at it back here for position 12, and the 33 of Hubley sitting a lap down in 17th, as they still side by side in the 3.
Still side by side into the 3 and 4. The 3 of Hubley, I don't think he was impressed by the driving of the 33 machine, so he's going to race him for what it's worth. Hubley gets nothing out of it. The 3 now just has to contend with more lap traffic, as he's sandwiched between lap traffic. The 3 in front of him, the 33 in front of the 3, the 86 of Jeff Gilman behind the 3. So Jarrett Butcher not in a position that he wants to be in, having to get in between those 2 lap cars. That will harm his opportunities. He needs a yellow flag to get back up with the group.
And definitely the 3 car having some handling issues now. Jarrett Butcher not able to really get back up. If he wanted to make a statement to the 33s, throws it in there to turn 3 for sure. So both these drivers not happy again. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. Lots of tempers can boil over here at short tracks, and we've seen our fair share of beating and banging to this point in the race. The battle's on up front, though. The 48 of Goodwin to the inside at the 72, and he's going to get it. So put Jake Goodwin back to P1 as the 72 of Eddy gives him the room in 1 and 2. And now 48's back to the point. The 72 of Eddy now back to the 2nd position.
Jake Goodwin made his opportunity work. He waited for the right opportunity to be there, and he is able to get it going. He's now back up front officially. Brad Eddy immediately behind him, and now Brad Eddy starting to lose some position on him as well. At least 3 car lengths, make that now 2 car lengths between the 72 and the 48. The 48, though, still has to contend with lap traffic. Vic Greenwood in the 11 right in front of him, and then in front of him, that triumvirate of Gilman, Hubley. Now the 3 and 5 are spinning in front of him. The 3 machine of Jarrett Butcher. He's in the grass. The 5 of Patrick Healy pulls off. That will bring out the yellow flag.
The caution flag is out. Not sure what happened off of turn number 2, but we see the 3 of Jarrett Butcher go to the apron. They're still beating and banging, entering pit road. 2 drivers very upset. Not sure if there was history between these guys a couple laps ago or not, but it looked like the 3 car coming up high and then dived it low off turn 2 and appearing to me got done what he intended to, getting into the left rear of that number 5 car and spun them both around, which is going to bring out a caution. So we're seeing lots of feuds all over the racetrack, and as the laps wind down, that's only going to intensify this race.
It is only going to get worse from here. The 3 also making retaliation contact with the 5. Will the 5 make retaliation contact again? I almost feel like he's debating it right now as you see him put a lot of distance between himself and that 3 of Butcher.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these guys do it right now. We know that they got into each other when they were looking to come back down that pit lane right now. Take a look. We're working lap 100 and I do believe 12 as all the leaders coming down pit road. Jake Goodwin's going to lead us off. Brad Eddy coming off of the pit lane second. Stephen Matthews third. So no changes on the pit lane as far as that. However, it does appear that the 97 of Ronald McKay stayed out and is going to assume that lead position for the time being.
So while these guys get it sorted out, let's go ahead and take one more commercial break. You are watching ETV Motorsports Live's live coverage of the Maritime iRacing League. It is the Patterson Sales and Service Limited 150 here at Stafford Motor Speedway. Stay tuned, race fans. We will have the conclusion to tonight's race coming up. Time running out here at Stafford Motor Speedway. It's the Patterson Sales and Service Limited 150, part of the Maritime iRacing League Super Series. Points leader Ronnie McKay back on the point. Jake Goodwin behind him. Brad Eddy, Stephen Matthews behind them. And then it's Mark Williams and Carter Wilson in the third row behind them. It's green flag about to fly here in just a few moments. Double file. They are double file doing one more parade lap as they wait for all the stragglers to come back off pit road and onto the track. Pace car out of the way. We are back to green flag racing as they see it fly. The 48 and the 97 making contact as they come to the start-finish line. Ronnie McKay wants it. Jake Goodwin wants to spoil it.
There's lots of tempers between all the drivers on the racetrack. How are they going to sort it out side by side for the lead right now? Caution flag is going to fly. The 55 of Tracy Foster in the outside wall with the 33 car as well. The number 6 of Nathan Doherty taking responsibility for the incident. Going to take a look back at the replay going into turn number 1. There you go, the 6 car of Nathan Doherty giving the 55 an unintentional boot into the corner. 55 coming down and actually door slamming the 5 car of Patrick Healy. We know he has not had the night that he wanted to this point. 55 hard into that outside wall, collecting the 6, the 13, the 38 also at damage, the 33. So lots of drivers torn up in that incident on the green flag.
I can guarantee you right now the 6 is done for the night. The 55 is done for the night. And as soon as that happened, you heard the 55 get on the radio and yell, "Come on, guys," about that incident. Nathan Doherty will be done for the night. Vic Greenwood, heavy damage as a result of that incident. Travis Roma, more damage on his late model. He's not having the night he wanted. David Cassidy just narrowly missing that event. And now we're back under yellow flag racing. This helps the cause of the 97 machine of Ronnie McKay. It does not necessarily help the cause of the 48 or the 72.
And no, definitely, but nonetheless, back under the caution flag right now, working under that yellow flag. Currently working lap 119 of 150 at the Stafford Motor Speedway. So when we come back for the green flag, just going to be under 30 or so laps to go once everything gets sorted back out. But I don't think we've seen our last incident of the night. A lot of tempers boiling over here at a classic short track.
What you're seeing tonight is classic short track racing. Short track racing at its finest here at Stafford Motor Speedway, the Maritime iRacing League. What makes this league so unique is a lot of these guys aren't just sim drivers. These are some of the best late model drivers from all across Canada's Maritimes. So a lot of the drivers that you see driving the local tracks are all throughout Nova Scotia and the northeastern part, I should say, provinces of Canada, all coming out to run the Winter League to keep their skills up here tonight. So a lot of these guys, they know each other from the track. A lot of these guys will know each other from different tracks, and I can't help but wonder how much is going to boil over from the sim world into the real world when we go racing next spring.
Definitely be an interesting thing, or maybe things carrying over from there to here in the first place. Maybe they figure this is the better place to settle it. But definitely, I mean, we've seen at least 3 duos of cars going at it. One of them has eventually led to a caution so far. We've seen a couple. We've even seen lap cars, getting into it with lead lap cars. We've seen everything right now to this point in the race, and we're not done. The field's starting to double up again. Ronald McKay going to be up front, the 48 of Goodwin, sitting P2 right now as we continue to pace, but the lights are off on that Ford First Racing Mustang pace car as we pace through turns number 1 and 2. That pace car is going to get to safety literally this time down pit road and going to unleash these guys for some more green flag racing.
I've got a feeling that the Ford Mustang First Racing pace car is the only car so far that does not have damage on this track. Pace car down and away, wants to keep it that way. The 97 and 48 getting back to racing one more time, and they almost make contact on that restart once again. And it's a 48 with the jump. The 97 did not get the start he wanted, so now we're back to green flag racing, and guess who's back on point? The 48 of Jake Goodwin.
He really capitalized on the misstart by the 97 car of McKay. So the 48 back up to the point now. The 97 drive back contact. The 98 of Matthews, P4 sideways in 3 and 4. He hangs on to it for now. He holds up the 24 car of Mark Williams. Tim Terry's going to give him a bump going into 1.
Tim Terry has the advantage on both the 24 and the 98, the 75 with position. The 24 of Mark Williams hitting the wall, coming on with turns 1 and 2. Now the 75 dirt tracks it through the turn. He's digging around Stephen Matthews, not able to do it. Stephen Matthews, who's been showing dominance on the high side, pulls that position out. He will be in position number 6, and now he's trying to get around Mike Rhino in the 34.
Definitely took a look to the inside off two-weighted. Now he's going to jump to the top side. So the 98 looking on the top lane. The 34 on the bottom. He's going to hang on to it now for the second position right now. Battle going on up front. The 97 car of Ronald McKay now dropping back into the third position, allowing the 27 of Brad Eddy by him. And now the 27 of Carter Wilson's going to try to go by, but gets a little bit cut off into 3. So the battle's on for third as well.
The 97 machine getting on the radio telling his crew, hey, the car is banged up. I am not as fast as I want to be tonight. I'm going to have to start letting cars around me if I want to stay in one piece. He let the 72 around with no battle. He might have lead the 27 around of Carter Wilson next, which would be a great boon for Wilson. I believe that would be his first top 3 of this season. Meanwhile, Mike Rhino still battling with Stephen Matthews.
Caution flag going to come back out at the Stafford Motor Speedway. Big incident going on in turn number 3, which is going to put us under that caution flag. One car getting put up into the outside wall, being the number 88 machine of Kevin Savory. If we go look at the E1, contact with him and the 05 going into turn number 3. The 05 throws it in there, sending the 88 around. Taking a look at the replay right there. That's going to put the caution out again. The 05 insisting that he had the position. So another difference of opinion and very heated discussions on the radio.
The 05 and 88, their crews exchanging words right now. Things that aren't polite to say here on ETV Motorsports Live. But the 05 and 88, let's put it this way. They are definitely having an exchange of ideas, an exchange of what exactly happened between them. And it's a hard run for Kevin Savory. He was running pretty much in the top 10 all night. He was running strong in that top 10, in a top 10 position. After that incident, he's going to be at least one lap down, and that could be the end of his competition tonight.
And definitely just another incident in the books right now. The 88 going to the trailer. He wants to see the replay. He got out of the car and is trying to find a television to take a look at the replay that we just showed, again, on ETV Motorsports Live. Definitely a difference of opinion, as you like to call it, between those drivers on what happened. And that incident, to me, it looked like very minor and more of a general contact as opposed to what we've seen. But definitely both drivers very disapproving of what happened there, to say the least.
I think disapproving is the polite way to pat, as there's going to be some reviews and there's going to be some actions taken as a result of tonight's race. I've got a feeling that the Little Red Trailer is going to be possibly the most popular place to be after tonight's race.
And definitely you're taking a look on a bumper cam there of the 88 to take a look at maybe what he might have been seeing in his rear view mirror going on in that incident. But definitely, and we've seen several drivers make contact before, and the book has been thrown at them. We've seen drivers like Dylan Duval receive suspensions in the Monday night series. But definitely, again, short track racing, it's inevitable when you have 150 laps and so many cars in such a short area of space that people are going to get into each other, and this is the end result.
Currently scoring 20 laps to go here at Stafford Motor Speedway. When they cross the line, it'll be 19. They should go back to Green Flag Racing. 18 laps left to go. Jake Goodwin in command of this field. Brad Eddy second. Ronnie McKay should restart third. Carter Wilson, Mike Rhino finds his way back up. He will be in the top 5 when we go back to Green Flag Racing. Stephen Matthews chomping at the bit. Mark Williams, Tim Terry, all chomping at the bit to go back to Green Flag Racing. They are doubling up. We'll go back to Green Flag Racing next time by. It will be 28 to go when we go back to Green Flag Racing.
And David, the green flag out. Everybody in the top 4 single filing out quick here. The 48 of Jake Goodwin going to the point. The 72 of Brad Eddy. And a caution flag back out again. The 86 is going to get turned around here of Jeff Gilman. He has some pretty substantial rear end damage. And right after we go green, the caution flag goes back out. The familiar number is the number 3 of Jarrett Butcher, throwing it into the corner, making contact with the 86. And backed it into the wall. So another caution is going to come out. Very more, or I guess you could say very interesting, and more contact. The beating and banging continues at the Stafford Motor Speedway.
And there's an interesting thing going on right now. The 97 machine of Ronnie McKay is coming down to the attention of his pit crew. I think he's decided that he just cannot make that 97 machine work the way he wants to. So they're going to try to do whatever they can to, at least give him a decent finish here tonight. His lead should be somewhat intact by the end of the evening, considering that Mike Alexander, Keith Mack, and Kevin Savory effectively out of the race. Jake Goodwin, the only one that can challenge him, but he's still 40 points for about 36 points behind Ronnie McKay. So Jake Goodwin, if he can win tonight, might cut a huge chunk out of the lead that Ronnie McKay has had over this Maritime iRacing League so far.
And definitely that's going to be his main focus, sitting right now up front. Again, normally you want to say that the safest part on the racetrack is that pace car down on pit road and sitting up front because you want to be in front of everything, but sometimes being that leader, have the biggest bullseye on the back bumper of your late model. Definitely not the 48 of Goodwin wants to see. He knows the opportunity that he can gain from tonight's race, obviously, by the misfortunes of those drivers sitting in front of him in the championship standings. It's just about, can he close it out? But him and the 72 of Brad Eddy that will make up our front row once we get the one to go, I do believe, next time by the start-finish line. Those race cars are pretty even, so it's going to be interesting to see how they negotiate these things, and if the 72 makes that aggressive move, and if they make it out of the corner.
So only time will tell what's going to happen as we get ready to go back. Green flag racing should be another lap or so. Jake Goodwin up front, Brad Eddy will they'll be on row number 1, Carter Wilson, Steve Matthews row number 2, and then behind them Mike Rhino and Mark Williams, Stefan Arsenal, Tim Terry, Martin Landry, and Todd Cousins round out your top 10. Your points leader, your points leader nowhere near the top 10. He is going to have to restart deep in the field.
Not what he was looking for. The field now doubled up. Again, the front row will be consisting of Jake Goodwin, Brad Eddy, row 2, the 27 of Wilson, and the 98 of Matthews. Steven Matthews nice and close to the back bumper of the 72. We're hearing it's going to be a fun restart to watch. Doubled up, lights off on the pace car down the back straightaway. We're going to be looking for the green flag.
We'll keep an eye on the 34 and the 98 machine as the pace car makes his way down pit road. The 48 and 72. 48 jumps the start. He is going to get a time zone over the 72. Now here was the 27 on the inside. This 24 out has some troubles. Caution out once again.
The caution coming out very interesting. I do believe maybe the officials tried to delay the caution, but no contact on the racetrack. Just a caution coming out. Actually, now we're hearing possibly the 5 car and the 11 of Patrick Healy. Yeah, they actually wrecked on the back straightaway behind everybody. Now we're back to green up front, but those guys are wrecking each other at the back of the line under caution.
I have no words for what we just saw. Let's just call it as we see it. Jake Goodwin now back up front. Brad Eddy in second. The battle for third between the 98 of Steve Matthews and the 27 of Carter Wilson. Now behind them, the 34 of Mike Rhinos in fifth. Tim Terry trying to pick up position. He's in sixth, and he looks like he's a man on a mission. Terry gets to the 34 of Rhino. Rhino almost sideways. He's able to save it. They continue to run. Battle still for third as the 27 and 98 fighting back and forth.
27 slides up the hill, 98 has to wiggle to give way, and Steven Matthews is going to lose position number 3 to the 27 of Carter Wilson. Very, very interesting turn of events there on the back straightaway. That's a first for me. Side by side for 8. This car, the front of Todd Cousins, going to lose that spot to the 97 of Ronald McKay, and laps continue to wind down. We're inside of 10 laps to go, and Jake Goodwin's got a 4-car length advantage.
Jake Goodwin is the man who would be king. It is 8 to go, this time by 48. No one near him. 72 digging as hard as he can. The battle, though, is really between the third and fourth as Carter Wilson continues to hold off Steven Matthews. Then there's Mike Rhino trying to hold off the Canadian phenom Tim Terry, the pink Nikes and everything, doing everything he can to try to get around the 34. Not happening. No dice. Top 5 still in question.
Continuing to sort it out, the laps continuing to wind down. You mentioned the closest battle on the racetrack is for third, the 98 of Steven Matthews, about a car length off the back bumper of the 27 of Wilson. This time, tries to give him a bump, the 98 almost getting into the rear end of Wilson. Can't get it done this time by the start-finish line. He's showing that he is not afraid to use the bumpers here in the closing laps, but has to make up ground now, a car length off.
6 to go as Carter Wilson continues to hold on to third. Steven Matthews, after trying to give that bump, might have hurt himself more than he hurt the 27. Trying to get on the apron, trying to get a 98 to turn, not turning as well as he wants to. 27 now makes contact with the wall. Carter Wilson has to defend that third place position a little bit harder from Steven Matthews. Steven Matthews once again on the apron. No dice for the 98. Here comes Ronnie McKay through the field. He's now going to be up to 6, passing Tim Terry in the 75.
The caution were to fly, the race may be over at this point, so Brad Eddy's got to pick it up in the 72, 3/10 off, really throwing it into turn number 1. The battle for the lead has about 3-4 car lengths to the back bumper of the 48 of Goodwin. Does not look like he has the speed to get it done. The 98 of Steven Matthews is in the grass down the back straightaway. No caution yet.
No caution yet. Steven Matthews tries to get back up to speed. 98, not with any contact. The 34 Rhino did it to himself, overdriving onto turns 1 and 2. We remain green flag racing on the field, and it continues to be the Jake Goodwin show as he's running 3/10 ahead of Brad Eddy. Carter Wilson now in third by himself. Mike Rhino to fourth, and Ronnie McKay finds his way to position number 5. 2 laps to go.
Less than 2 to go off of turn number 2 of the 72 of Brad Eddy, continuing to try to work as hard as he can to get something on Goodwin. Contact with all that time at a 2. He's going to throw it in this time again. I don't think he has enough room because the 48 of Jake Goodwin into the wall off 4, but he has the white flag. What goes, goes. It's a race back to the checkered flag. 72 throws it in one more time in 1 and 2. Can't get it done. Goodwin down the back.
Goodwin down the back. He's got a half lap before he is the winner of tonight's race. 72 trying the apron, can't do it. 48 is your winner. Jake Goodwin walks away with the win here at Stafford. Brad Eddy second, Carter Wilson third, Mike Rhino fourth, Ronnie McKay rounds out your top 5. Tim Terry, once again the bridesmaid, never the bride. He will finish in the top 6 as Mark Williams gives him a little spin. Martin Landry, Todd Cousins, and Stefan Arsenault, your top 10.
We're going to take a look at the replay involving the number 5 car. And, I mean, you just taking a look at the incident there, down the back straightaway. Then keep in mind, this is under caution. And you see the 11 car of Vic Greenwood. Not sure what happened between those two or something, or mistook the gas pedal for the brake pedal, but just took him out going into 3.
Just took him out, nothing to do. As you know, but like I said, that's the joy of short track racing. Once it's done, and all you can do is hope for the best. Todd Cousins burns it out on the front stretch, your winner here at Stafford. When we come back, we'll talk to the top 3 and give a recap of everything, all the carnage we saw here at Stafford Motor Speedway. Stay tuned, race fans. You are watching ETV Motorsports live coverage of the Maritime iRacing League.
Fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Travis, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Tonight's live coverage on ETV Motorsports Live of the Stafford of the Maritime iRacing League. Patterson Sales and Service Limited 150 at Stafford, brought to you by Patterson Sales and Service of Moncton, Miramachi, and Fredericton. Patterson Sales takes pride in offering a wide range of products to customers. They are a full RV store with a wide range of travel trailers, lightweights, luxury fifth wheels, and more. Patterson Sales carry a full range of tractors with names like McCormick, Landy, TYM, Montana, Ellis Manufacturing, and a full line of attachments from several manufacturers. 3 locations to serve customers, plus their Polaris and Arctic Florida cat dealer in Miramachi, and Kawasaki for the greater Moncton area. Patterson's will not be undersold. Financing available. 150 laps done in the books here at Stafford Motor Speedway, and an incredibly contentious 150 laps at the end of it. Only one can be the winner, and that winner finally tonight was Jake Goodwin. After a long start to his season, he's down in victory lane with our very own Evan Pasoko.
And that's right, down here in the victory lane with the driver of the 48 of Jake Goodwin. Jake, what a race for you. We saw you up front, we saw you in the grass, and then when time was right, you capitalized at the end and go to victory lane.
Yeah, it was a up and down race, that's for sure. I had a lot of fun. I'd like to thank CBC Racing and Stephen Matthews for help with the setup.
Definitely talk to us about the race. 150 laps. We saw a lot of beating and banging between some drivers. Did you find yourself in the middle of any incidents?
Early in the race, me and Mike got together. I'm not sure if I just chopped him off or he went in a little deep. I didn't look at it, but other than that, I thought we were done there, but we got lucky and survived and ended up in first.
Talk us through your drive through the field. We saw beating and banging between cars for position. We saw beating and banging between cars and lap down cars. How did you manage to get from the tail end of the lead lap within the last about 100 laps or so and end up in this place right here in victory lane?
Yeah, that first long run when I come from the back there, that was the most fun I had all race. That was a lot of fun. I just got lucky and found some holes, I guess.
And definitely you touched on your race team here earlier. Who makes it happen for you and the rest of your 48?
I'd like to thank CBC Racing and Steve again, and I'd like to thank Patterson Sales and Services for putting the show on.
And definitely, well, congrats on a well-deserved victory after a tough 150 laps, and good luck in the coming weeks.
Yeah, thanks.
That's it from Victory Lane. Joe Cortez, Jake Goodwin finally picking up that victory in the 48 after a long, hard racing.
A man who would love to be down in victory lane, but finishes still with a strong second place finish is Brad Eddy in the 72 machine. And Brad, you did lead a few laps out there. What happened to force you to give away the lead?
I was running low on fuel there when I was leading Jake, and I started to let him catch me. I was going about 3/4 throttle down the straights there, and trying to save some fuel. So when we went to pit there, I took a little bit extra fuel, and I think it might have hurt me. And I just was too lazy to look at the numbers a little bit. But good win for Jake. Good win for CBC Racing.
Definitely hard racing out there. A lot of contentious driving between all of the drivers out there. How were you able to keep it clean and keep the 72 for the most part unscathed throughout the last 150 laps?
Oh yeah, it was a really fun race. And basically, you just gotta keep your nose clean. Don't make any holes that you that aren't actually there. Know the guys you're racing with, and trust the guys you know. So, I mean, I know how everybody races, and I have a general idea, and I know how I can race them.
A lot of fun racing, but we saw a lot of sheet metal get bent up here at Stafford Motor Speedway. A lot of different things happening all at the same time. This was really a test of the driver ability out here, and you seem to pass it with flying colors almost with a win tonight.
Yeah, it was fun. I love Stafford, and it's one of my favorite tracks. So my car really came in there in the middle of the runs, and I was able to, catch Ronnie and Ricky there when they were running, and it was a good car. But I was overdriving it a little bit, trying to catch Jake. Just trash talking him on TeamSpeak a little bit. It was fun.
So the next question is, are we going to see you in 1 week's time back here in the Super Series?
I'm not quite sure. I mean, I'm definitely going to run for points there in the Sportsman Series, but it's a decision I haven't made yet. Just have to look at the schedule, but I definitely like running with these guys, and you put on a great show for ETV, and there's a lot of politics, a lot of drama, a lot of good racing.
All the things that make the racing world go round. Brad Eddy, driver, number 72, late model. Brad, before I let you go, any shout-outs you'd like to give, anything you'd like to offer for our viewers, it's all yours.
Absolutely. If you want to visit my website at bradeddy.com, we just got that updated. Thanks to my team, CBC Racing, Steve Matthews, Craig McDonald, Jake Goodwin, Patrick Healy, Kevin Savory, and Doug Hubley, all those guys. They're fun to be around, and they're a great team. I'd like to thank Tim Terry for starting this league and putting in all the effort, and ETV for broadcasting it. Thanks, guys. I hope we put on a good show tonight. Seemed like it.
Brad Eddy in the number 72 late model, finishing second tonight. Good run tonight, my friend, and hopefully we'll see you in 1 week's time.
Thank you very much, guys. Hope so. See ya.
Brad Eddy in the 72 machine, finishing second. Let's go ahead and go back to Evans Basoko. Count up with our third place finisher, Carter Wilson.
And definitely down here on the pit lane, definitely an active place after a race like that. Carter Wilson in a 27 coming home with a solid top 3 finish. Carter, on those final restarts, do you think you might have had anything for our leaders, or were they just too fast?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I had a end-of-line penalty a few cautions earlier. I just made my way up front at the last 2 or so restarts. Didn't get to run enough laps, but I think they might have been a bit faster.
And definitely, we take a look at tonight's race, 150 laps at the Stafford Motor Speedway, a lot of sheet metal being bent up and a lot of patience being tested. Did you find yourself in any interesting predicaments throughout the night?
No, surprisingly, I was able to keep it clean for most of the night. Didn't have any hard contact, no damage or anything like that.
Definitely an accomplishment for sure for the race that we saw up here in the tower. We know you had a strong car. You qualified in the 4th spot, coming home 3rd. It's obviously going to be a good night for you. How was the car, and how did you enjoy the racing on the racetrack? Did you think it was a good race?
Yeah, I thought it was a good race. Went green for a long run. And the car was going pretty good, but like I said, I had that penalty and just got back up front in the last few laps.
Talk us through that penalty. Obviously, with also a whole bunch of race cars on this track, not a lot of room. What was the key for you to make your way back through that traffic and evidently getting yourself a top 3?
It was just patience. A lot of people were sliding up in the middle of the turn and just had to wait for that moment and cut to the inside to get a run on them. And the penalty, I was catching the group and overshot the pit entrance and cut through the grass.
Definitely, you had your bit of adversity for sure. Well, a top 3 finish in the Sportsman Series, or rather the Super Series here on the Wednesday night. Definitely a great accomplishment, finishing about 1.3 seconds behind our leaders, coming to the checkered flag. Who makes it happen for you? Any shout-outs, sponsors you want to thank?
I'd like to thank Patterson Sales and Service for sponsoring the race. Tim Terry and the guys that administrate everything, they do a great job. And thanks to my teammates, Revolution Racing, and also to you guys, make a great stream.
And definitely, you heard it, guys. Carter Wilson in a 27, a solid top 3 finish at the Stafford Motor Speedway.
And before we go, let's talk to one of your guys that make it all happen here in the Maritime iRacing League, Tim Terry. And Tim, I do not envy your job tonight. You guys have got a lot to do down in the Little Red Holler.
Yeah, me and JD are going to have a meeting here in a few moments. This was actually the first time this season that the Sportsman race was cleaner than the Super Series race. So a lot of those guys moved up and did a great job. Great job by everybody this evening. It was still a great race. I think Patterson Sales and Service got their money's worth because there was a whole lot of action around this racetrack, on the racetrack, and there was some bent tempers at the end of it too. I want to thank Johnny Goodwin for coming on board with Patterson Sales and Service at the last minute. It was a great show for them. We're back at Stafford in January, and I believe the late model championships are going to be here as well. So there's going to be a lot of action at this Stafford racetrack. I need to thank the team, the quote-unquote team. If you were here last night for the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series, you know what I'm talking about. They helped me with some setup tips for this evening's race. But nevertheless, I'm happy with 6th, and we'll move on to next week. Next week is the Weekly Press 150 at Langley, and then we have a couple of races that aren't sponsored. So if you're out there and you're listening to us and want to get on board and help us support what we do every Wednesday night and the odd Monday, come on out and get a hold of me, and we'll do it that way. I got a tight points battle for 18th place now. Ronnie McKay is starting to run away with this thing up front, but everybody else is tight in the points. It's going to be an exciting season going forward here, and Langley comes up next week. I can't wait for it. It's going to be awesome.
In the words of another famous broadcaster, what wasn't bent tonight ended up becoming bent tonight, and I'm sure tempers were no exception to that.
Mine was in one piece, though, for the most part of the race.
We will have to get the replay and review that later on when we go back to our own hauler in just a moment. Tim Terry, your administrator here, find out more about the Maritime Race iRacing League at... Tim Terry, where do we find out more about the Maritime iRacing League at?
Oh, sorry, Joe. Laura's in my ear. MIRL.ca. We're going down to the production hauler afterwards. I think Laura owes me a beer that was left in the grandstand there afterwards. But MIRL.ca, you can sign up there. Our schedule's there. It's a temporary website. We've been busy doing all kinds of other stuff. But MIRL.ca.
Laura Lawson buying everybody in Alexander Keith's when we are done with tonight's broadcast. Let's go ahead and just cut to the chase and get out of here so we can have that cold IPA down at the hauler. My thanks to our entire production team. Laura Lawson, your producer and camera operator tonight. My partner in crime, Evan Pisoko. On behalf of our entire broadcast team, I am Joe Cortez. Congratulating Jake Goodwin once again on a big finish here at Stafford Motor Speedway. We will see you in 1 week's time, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Atlantic for the Maritime iRacing League from Langley Speedway. Good night, everybody.
Join 5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETVLive sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.